Man, do you like podcasts? Well then,
welcome to
No Gimmicks Needed!
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
this is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. But the one person I want to be happy for, and then it started to turn to like slightly little headed, is Goldberg. So Goldberg, here's the thing. Goldberg had his retirement match at Saturday Night's main event against Gunther. I thought it was a good match for Goldberg. I actually thought it was just a good match overall. And there's one thing y'all need to know about me, especially if y'all was watching the channel 10 years ago. We did a top 10, or a top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. I have a top 10. My 10th always switches up every now and then. But 1 through 9 stay the same. And these are my favorite wrestlers. Number 1, all time, is Kurt Angle. Number 2, Chris Jericho. Number 3, Shawn Michaels. Number 4, Randy Orton. Number 5, Goldberg. Number 6, Booker T. Number 7, Vader. Number 8, Ken Shamrock. Number 9, RVD. Number 10, fluctuates. It always does. That has been my list of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Weird ass list. Not respectable kind of list, but it doesn't matter. This is my list, right? And Goldberg was in my top 5. I cannot take away what Goldberg has done in the Monday Night War. How white hot, white hot that Goldberg has gotten. And he literally became a star overnight. And Goldberg was not the kind of person you would sit there and watch your Mac classics. That's not what Goldberg's thing was about. Goldberg was about impact, spear, jackhammer, and just the aurora and the creation of Goldberg was something to be in awe. That's what it was. That's why, everything about Goldberg just worked for Superstar. His entrance, he has one of the best entrances in wrestling history. Just standing there in the fire, the way the presentation of Goldberg was something I fell in love with. The security, this man is so dangerous, he had to be escorted by security into the ring. The fireworks is just breathing on, and it don't even affect him. He just goes out and just breathing out the smoke out, and then he will come be impactful, and the moves that he would do would just be impactful. Sloppy, couldn't string together a match, but impactful. But that spear is the best spear in wrestling. Not no more. Right now, that goes to Braun Breaker. But back in the day, and when Goldberg was at his peak, Goldberg had the best spear. It wasn't Rhino. It wasn't Edge. It was not anybody else with a spear. And even better, look, I like what Bobby does. I like what Moose does because they do the roll with it. I like Roman's is fine. Jey Uso's is ass. But Goldberg had the best spear, hands down. And then he did the jackhammer. And once again, I love wrestlers that can do the jackhammer or do their finisher on anybody. And when Goldberg was doing a jackhammer easy on the Giant, that's when that man was a problem. So I fell in love with Goldberg. Who couldn't? Especially back in the day when you're in elementary school and you in high school, Goldberg was the dude, right? So then as time went on and he got older, I was like, his first run WWE, I understand it. He did not like it. There was politics going on. There was things going on behind his back. And he didn't like the way he was treated in WWE. But when he came back and had that program with Brock Lesnar, and they actually made up for the WrestleMania 20 match and WrestleMania 33, and I thought it was a good match between him and Brock at WrestleMania 33, that's what it should have been at. I was fine with it. I was like, that would have been a great send-off. But no, that wasn't it for Goldberg. Then Goldberg comes back and does more stuff. Damn near kills The Undertaker, destroys The Fiend, and is a champion. Well, I mean, The Fiend was before WrestleMania, I believe, but they almost kills The Undertaker. Has a terrible match with Braun Strowman at Mania. And then has a terrible match with Roman Reigns. But then he has a decent match with Bobby Lashley. Was it Crown Jewel, I think it was, when they had the Falls Count Anywhere matchup, I think it was. And I was like, okay, when you have a good moment, end it right there. But it just, Goldberg was not happy. Goldberg said that WWE owed him a retirement match. I'm like, do they? Do they really? Well, he got this retirement match in Atlanta, in his hometown with Gunther, but NBC cuts him off 30 seconds into his speech. Now, they did upload the speech in full on YouTube. You can go watch the speech in full. And I'm just like, man, it was great seeing Goldberg out there with his people. Hell, when the security came and got him, it was the original guy, I can't remember his name, that knocked on the door back then. They dragged his ass out of somewhere and he knocked on the door now. They even had Ernest the Cat Miller there with him. But Goldberg went on Ariel Owani's show and talked about basically how disappointed he was in it, and he was pissed off because he got cut off. And the way he's making it seem like WWE was the problem doing this. But they're on NBC, they have a hard cutoff at 10, and that's what it was. And to be honest with you, Goldberg got 14 minutes. There was no way I would thought Goldberg got 4, because that's Goldberg's longest match since having that match, I think, back in 2003 with Triple H and Unforgiven. I'm thinking around that time, or at least Elimination Chamber, at SummerSlam of 2003. One of them. 14 minutes. Now, you can make the argument that it's because Seth Rollins got injured earlier in the show, because this probably would have been a short match, but it worked. It worked, and you got to give all the praise to God and Gunther that it worked him through that match. Gunther is a ring general, and he worked Goldberg through a good, solid match. Now, what I had liked it on pay-per-view, because I thought, I was like, why don't they just do this match at SummerSlam? But they most likely wanted to have the World Championship on the line at SummerSlam, so you didn't want to hold that up. That's why I didn't think Gunther was going to win it. I thought Seth Rollins was going to have it by now and win off of Jey Uso at SummerSlam. But none of this has been the plan. None of this. I was way off of everything. But that's why I thought like you do it at a pay-per-view. But they did it here. But he was not happy about that he compares it. Would they ever do this to John Cena? Would they ever do this to The Undertaker? I wish that we could have started building this back in January. And he said, come on, they only gave me about 20 seconds to talk. He still praised Gunther for helping him and stuff like that. But Goldberg, I think you could call it PTSD from 2003. But what I also think is, as much as I am a fan of Goldberg, like I explained to you at the beginning, I'm a fan of Goldberg. I do believe Goldberg there's a little bit of delusion of grandeur here, because one thing WWE has been consistent of over the years is that they do not look at their WCW counterparts, their WCW wrestlers, their competition back in the day that almost put them out of business, on the same level as their talent. And we've had the only one, in my personal opinion, that got any of the respect was Hogan, because Hogan was a made man in WWF or WWE, went to WCW and came back. Everybody else, which a lot of people have gone to WWE for something like that, but they weren't stars then. They just worked there and then back. But then there was just no kind of respect, or unless you were part of the clique with Nash and Hall, but Hall got on the drugs and stuff. But other than that, if you and X-Pac, but if you wasn't part of the clique and you wasn't Hogan, WCW got shitted on. DDP, Booker T, Sting. Mysterio is an exception, but some of those stars, they got shitted on. Sting should have won that Mania against Triple H. He didn't do it. Sting, it was just hard seeing Sting team with the NWO, just have an NWO versus DX type thing. What? Booker T should have been won the WWE Championship. He didn't. So they tried to give him the world title almost like 6 years too late. I was about to say 4 or 5 years too late. But they gave it to him in 2006 when he should have beat Triple H and had the WrestleMania moment in 2003. Do not get me started. Okay? Do not get me started. So they don't view Goldberg the same as The Undertaker or John Cena. They don't. So the treatment that Goldberg is looking for, he's not going to get like John Cena. There's no way that they were going to plan a retirement angle with Goldberg back in January, because so he can build it up and all his friends know, and everything felt kind of last minute. Yeah, everything felt last minute because they just put this shit together, and that's what it was. Cena started his retirement tour back in January. You're not going to be on a Goldberg retirement tour back in January and build up to it when they got Cena. Cena is more important than you are. Same thing with The Undertaker. Undertaker was allowed to retire whenever he wanted to, how many times he wanted to, when there was a couple times he should have just been retired. Okay? And just hang it up. But he's The Undertaker. He means so much important. He's so important to WWE. So he views himself on that level where WWE does not view him on that level. They do not view him on that level with their top stars. And Goldberg at one point in WCW was a top star. But he, with that era, like once again, 97, 98, that was Goldberg's peak. Late 97, September 97. Going into 98, that was Goldberg's peak. But he wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. He wasn't The Rock. Hell, he wasn't Triple H. Undertaker, Cena, Lesnar, Batista, Orton, CM Punk, even Bryan Danielson. Like, he got white hot, but that was it. After 98 and after that injury, he came back in 99 and Goldberg sucked. Nobody liked heel Goldberg. What were they trying to do with Goldberg in 2000? Damn sure they didn't work for Goldberg. And they come back and he peaked. 97, 98, that was it. That's Goldberg's unstoppable peak, but he's just not on that level. Now, am I saying that it was justified? Because you can't blame WWE because Sting got cut off in his retirement speech, and that was on a pay-per-view when they went over. And I do think that you should try to map out your show. That's why I don't like having retirement angles and stuff like that, or the wrestler's last match on TV, because they're allowed to be able to take their boots off, talk to their fans, because Goldberg has fans. Q-Flow, big Goldberg fan. And you can say everybody says don't know wrestling, they're a Goldberg fan. I am a fan of Goldberg, but I'm not a fan of Goldberg. But so that does not say that he doesn't have the right to address his fans and thank his people and thank everybody for the career that he has. He has that right, if that's what he want to do. But I just don't like stuff on primetime. That's why when Cena's last appearance or whenever they're doing the Cena retirement, don't do it on Saturday Night's Main Event. Make it something special just for John Cena, or put it on a pay-per-view. That's what Cena deserves, because once he's done, he's done. You can give him that retirement, and they just don't view Goldberg that way, to give that man that kind of retirement. So he was saying this, and there was fan backlash, and everybody was like, well, what side are you taking? You taking Goldberg's side and things like that? And Goldberg did kind of come back, I guess, I don't know, to do damage control a little bit. He was saying that, wrestling Gunther was an honor and a privilege. Don't let my displeasure in any way, shape, or form reflect on my opponent. I wish I could do it again. It was how much fun it was. It was a fun match. I even like Goldberg doing the no-selling to Gunther's chops. That was old school peak Goldberg where he wouldn't sell the offense. I love that shit. I love that. They had, they had a ref bump. Goldberg goes to the barricade. Like, he did not embarrass himself. And I like that. I appreciate that. But he bound with injuries. You saw the limp to the ring with the knee. He's bound with injuries. And for him to even be able to get Gunther up in the jackhammer and not kill him, that was great. That was great. And even incorporated his knee injury, his real-life knee injury, into the match. And he even sold. Definitely did. I appreciate that. Goldberg even continues on to say, what I'm seeing from the Ring Report, that he said, I always say that I never bask in the moment, but that exactly what happened when I laughed after Gunther chopped me. It wasn't because I wanted to step on his offense. It was just I was having fun, and it was his reactionary thing. I normally don't have that much fun. So he's greatly appreciative of the people, and we're happy what they saw. It was a long road leading up to, a lot of sacrifices were made, but it was a success. And in other ways, it was a failure. So he basically is just double down to it, but it's a career. It's a career. It's over now for Goldberg. Yes, it sucked with the NBC thing, but I was like, when he's going around there complaining, and the way he sounded on Ariel on his interview, it just sounded like, in certain cases, depending on who you talk, he sound ungrateful. He sound ungrateful, and then there's also a point that with Goldberg feels though that he's a big up the star that deserves this kind of spotlight. Well, WWE may be having an attitude like, bro, you just should be happy we even said you can do this. So I don't know, man. Like, that kind of stuff bothers me, and I'm just like, yo, I be trying to rock for Goldberg on a lot of things, and he be saying some shit out the side of his ass sometimes, and he be sitting there complaining about certain things, and I was just like, I just want to say my piece about it, but it's like, as of right now, look, it's been a career for Goldberg. I appreciate what Goldberg did in the business and what he has done in the business, but it is over. I'm like, bro, and the way he went out, the retirement they gave him, minus the cutting off his speech, I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. Ended with a great match. I thought it was fine. He wasn't going to get the main event at no SummerSlam. He wasn't going to get anything of that. So you might as well just give him. And besides, they just used Goldberg to stick the AEW All In. If it wasn't All In that weekend, this match will probably be happening at SummerSlam, and then it'll probably be on night one. And it'll probably be somewhere in the middle of the match. And it's just like, okay, they probably won't even give him that much time to talk because we got to move on to the other matches. So Goldberg should, to just be happy with this. What it is. It is what it is. We got to see it. Got over 1 million views on YouTube. So it did what it needed to do. And time to call it, it's a career now.